Well, welcome back, everybody, for another episode of What Drives You. And I have a very young, talented, special guest with me tonight, Mr. Dillon Potter. How are you, Dillon?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No, dude, thanks for joining us. So here's a real car trooper. He just worked a long day, full day, and raced home to get on with us on the channel tonight. So thank you, Mr. Potter.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Yeah. And you got to, it's a very unique situation because you just had baby number three,
Yep, baby
baby
number
number three.
three. Three boys, all of them under 4 years old. My house is full of chaos.
Yeah, I think I told you about this. My growing up, my neighbors had in where I lived with my parents. I was grown. I think I was 18-ish, but still living at home. They had three boys and then had twin boys,
Crazy. I can't even imagine that. That just absolutely blows my mind.
five boys. So the twins, which they didn't know, Dylan, one of them was deaf.
Oh wow.
And so they had, you know how twins kind of have their own language anyway? Well, they didn't know because they thought they were doing the twins language thing, that the
Okay.
one boy was deaf. And then when
Yeah.
they figured it out, it made it a lot easier because he was just a little bit impaired developmentally. But dude,
Yeah.
you talk about a crazy house. It was from like 2 years old to 10,
Yeah.
bonkers.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I can imagine. Oh my
I,
goodness. I can even imagine adding a fourth. My wife's trying to talk me into a fourth right now. And obviously down the line, I'm like, it's gonna take
dude,
a lot
once
of
you're outnumbered
convincing.
though, I don't know if it matters. Like once it's past 2-on-2, it's
That's
zone
true.
coverage, you
Yeah,
know.
zone defense.
Zone B. Well, anyway, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the new gig. And we were
Thank you.
just talking a little bit for those of you who are followers of the channel, those who are new to the channel, thank you for joining us. But Dylan is working at probably one of the hottest brands in the car business right now, as you can tell by his jacket, Hyundai. Um, and then in one of the second largest market in the country, LA. But he is literally working out of an old hot dog stand, burger shack, something. What? Give us
Philly
the scoop.
cheesesteak. Philly cheesesteak. Yeah.
Philly
So, yeah, crazy
cheesesteak.
story. But yeah, it's small. It's, we're under construction right now. New buildings coming June 1st. But yeah, it's been a long 2 years, right? So, I think I have a total of 8 customer parking spaces, and then the entire lot is full.
Eight. That's very generous because every time I've
Yeah.
come, I pull in and I wait for someone to like point me in this tiny little slip.
Yeah.
My guest usually has to get out ahead of time, and then I go
Yeah.
in and squeak out
You're
and
not
get in. And
lying.
and then I feel bad, Dylan, because I'm like, where's that real customer going to park?
Yeah, yeah. Don't worry. That's why we got someone waiting outside at all times.
Yeah. Which is funny because when I first got in the car business in '93, there was my first sale as a vendor in the car business was to one of the largest Chevy dealers in Chicago. It was called Rockenbach Chevy, and they had it wasn't as small as your Philly cheesesteak, but
Yeah.
it had that same feel. It was just packed and jam. They had triple salesperson to a desk.
Wow. Yeah.
So there was this energy and this buzz that just made you like, hey, if you're not buying, Mr. Customer, that person right behind you is buying.
Yeah. That's
There was
crazy.
that buzz, and you kind of got that energy at your place. Like stuff is just, I mean, you're right across the street. What's that stadium there?
BMO and BMO Stadium where LAFC play, and then the Coliseum where the Trojans play.
So literally walking out, like you walk out the front door and you see it's UCLA, right?
Yeah. No, it's USC.
USC, yeah, USC.
Yep.
So it's a cool neighborhood. I mean, it's a crappy spot right now, which, like you said, is going to get updated very, very soon.
Yep.
And what you guys are part of the
Yeah. Brandon Steven Motors.
Brandon Steven Motors, which
Yep.
is 20 stores.
Yep. Yep. We're consistently growing, so I've lost count at this point, but around there, yeah.
But what I love about your story and your journey, we'll get back to it. But let's kind of go back to when I met you. Your father and I worked together. Your father's been on the program as well. A very, very well known car guy and still car guy, but more on the vendor side than on the retail of late. But how did you determine? You saw him working hard. You saw him putting in the hours. What made you want to get into this crazy
Yeah.
business?
Yeah, good question. So, yeah, I mean, going all the way back to high school, I kind of, made a lot of the wrong decisions, hung around a lot of the wrong people. I got kicked out of high school, went continuation high school, got kicked out of that, to basically continuation night school. And, I, a lot of my dad's so successful. I saw him, killing it, doing his thing. And, my experience with school and to that point, I failed a lot, right? So, I decided, I was working at a Wendy's. I decided I want to try to sell something. I feel like I talk to people, communicate well. So I tried a gig doing door-to-door sales. And that was a good learning experience. And after, get
Wait,
my
what were you selling?
solar,
Kirby vacuums?
solar.
Oh, solar. I remember that. Yeah, yeah, solar.
Yeah, so selling solar door to door, really good experience, Looking back at it, I'm like, I'm glad I did that, right? You learn to deal with rejection a lot, right? And overcome that, have a good attitude and keep pushing along, right? But so after that, it was like half my battle was getting somebody interested, right? That was 90% of the battle, right? So, I thought to myself, I see my dad in the car business. People go inside of a dealership already interested in something, and really you just have to give them a great experience and wrap up the deal. So I thought to myself, let me try selling cars, right? I've seen a lot of successful people, and so I gave it a shot. I moved up to San Jose, left all my family and friends, and gave it a shot working for the DG group at a Hyundai store over there, and incredible experience, great group, great people. And that's kind of how it all started. And I think this was back in 2016, somewhere around there.
Been 10 years already, dude.
Isn't that
Wow.
crazy? Yeah. Blows my mind. I'm like, I just turned 30 this last month. Think to myself, I'm like, dang, I'm 30 and I have three kids. Where'd the time go?
Well, from slinging Wendy's burgers to running your own dealership is pretty impressive. It's kind of funny that you last landed in a fast food store,
Yeah, it
a Hyundai
is.
store. Um, but yeah, I mean it's an amazing group. It's an amazing operation.
Oh yeah.
So when you went from selling, and this I kind of remember because I forgot you went to work for Sean and Jeremy
Yeah.
um, at,
Great people.
at Del Grande. Yeah, amazing guys. I got to get Jeremy on here.
Yeah, you
Um,
really do.
but once you did that, then you kind of took a little even further risk and moved up to Timbuktu. So tell us about your little Portland.
Yeah, well, I came down from San Jose, and that's actually where I met Brad. My dad knew a lot of people in the business, and I basically came back to be towards family and friends. And so, long story short, I asked my dad who's the best person to work for, in California, and he said easily Brad Mugg. Gave him a call. And he said, I want to interview you. So, funny story, I went to the wrong store. I thought he was still at the previous store that he was at. And
Oh
so
no!
I went to that store and they're like, oh, he doesn't work here anymore. So I already drove 2 hours to get there. And then I called him up and he was like, oh, no, I'm here now. I still really want to interview you. So can you come down? It was another hour and a half away. So I just did the drive. I made it. And, I'm really glad I did. So ended up, working for Brad, hired me on the spot. I still was a young kid. I still wasn't taking it as serious, right? There's quite a few years I look back and I say, hey, how much, further could I have gotten if I, taken things more seriously? But I was a kid at the time, figuring things out, figuring what I want to do with my life and, trying to figure out what's important and what's not, right? And, being a kid is being a kid and being young and you make mistakes, you make, bad decisions, you learn from them, you move on. And then, a few years there and then Brad one day wasn't at work. And I got really close with Cooper, obviously his son, and he was my sales manager at the time. And his other brother, Quincy, was my internet director at the time. So I was really close with the whole family. And Brad wasn't at work. I called him one time. He said, hey, you know what? I'm parting ways with the group. We're either going to go to, Texas, Florida, Portland, or Oregon. And he's like, I'm sure, my boys are going to invite you, but you're welcome to come with us, right? And I felt very honored because, they didn't really offer that to anybody else. I don't know if it wasn't everybody else was willing to move or not, or whatever the case might be, but I felt really close with them. I learned a lot from them, and then he gave me that, and I made that decision in literally 5 seconds in my mind. I didn't have a girlfriend, didn't have nothing going for me. I was staying with my mom at the time in Huntington Beach. I didn't have much to lose, right? And I already moved once, and I learned a lot from that experience. And I looked up to Brad, right? He's a very high caliber person in the car business and great human being. Love his family, love Cooper like a brother, and they've already taught me so much. I'm like, I have so much more to learn from these people. So I made that decision in 5 seconds. He's like, you can let me know later, and I didn't let him know later. I said, yes, 100%, I'm in. Let's go. And looking back, the last 10 years, that sole decision I made in 5 seconds was probably the best decision of my life, right? We ended up going to, Oregon and a Honda store over there. New market, learning a lot of new stuff. But from there, I met my wife. She was working at the dealership at the time.
Oh, I didn't.
And
I knew you met her there. I didn't know she was working there. That's cool.
yeah, she was a salesperson and I was in finance. And, you're not really allowed to do that. And so, so we started seeing each other and I was like getting nervous over it. So we were already spending every night together. So I basically said, hey, let's move in together. I'll take care of your car payment, but you got to leave right now. So she left. But yeah, looking back, best decision of my life. So getting into finance, Brad, if you know Brad, Brad's very strict. He's very disciplined, right? And he made me take all the right steps and made me, do all the right things to get into finance and make me really earn that. And looking back, there's so many times I was probably frustrated with him, you know. Oh, give me the opportunity, and then, someone else gets an opportunity or whatever the case might be, outside hire, whatever. But looking back, I'm really glad, he did because he's really showed me like how to be truly disciplined and, you know, get after and earn what you get, So then from there, did finance, and then we were up there for a couple years. Brad took some time off and he said, hey, when we land in a few months, I'm gonna let you know and you're coming, let's go. So he ended up linking up with Brandon, getting in on Honda Downtown LA, top 15 store in the nation. So obviously I was there, so he called me up and I moved right away. So me and my girlfriend at the time and moved down to California, and then that's when I got on the desk over there, and that was a really fun time. Really fun time learning how to desk, really fast pace. And I feel like that's where I honed in on, a lot of skills. You're desking 10, 15 deals at a time with
Hmm.
45, 50 salespeople you're keeping track of with three other desk guys. It was a lot of fun. So it forced me to learn really quickly. And it was a new market too. It was challenge credit, a lot of different challenges that I wasn't used to working in Irvine and Portland. And so
Yeah.
different demographic. But that was an amazing, amazing experience to start desking, kind of threw me in the fire and I had to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, it's for those of you who aren't in the car business, I mean, this channel started out as a car business channel. Now it's kind of turned out into what drives you in life, which is why I love having younger talent, the next generation, people on because they can, even though your journey's only been 10 years, I feel like it's been like 2 years, but you've kind of worked all the different phases of, internet, sales guy, finance, desk
Yeah.
manager, now running your own store. But it really has been 10 years. That's not, it's kind of like you're a journeyman carpenter or journeyman, a master
Yeah.
mechanic in that
Yeah.
time. But when a big store, especially a top three, Honda, Toyota, Nissan was, now it's Hyundai, Kia, and then Buick, sorry, Chevy, Ford, Chrysler in a big metro market with all the different languages and all the different credit challenges. If you can survive that, you can work anywhere, in my opinion.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. Yeah, it was fun. I was breaking a lot of records, having a lot of fun, and that store does really well and it's just so fun to win, That's one of the things that, got me addicted to the car business. I feel like that was the first place I could really win in life. That was the
Mhm.
first place I really got like a true win. And so I just really got addicted to that. And I just wanted to find a way to be better and better. I feel like that's in this business, there's a lot of people with a lot of, really big egos that think they're so good, and I feel like that holds a lot of people back, and not just the wanting to win, but wanting to get better every day.
Yeah.
And so I've been really blessed with the mentors that I have, Cooper, Brad, my father, that just have that mindset of just always want to learn, always want to get better, willing to own your mistakes and improve every day.
Yeah. No, it's Brad's a good man. His boys, I've only met him a couple times with you. Seem like again great guys, but the brands you guys have been in, the markets you guys have been in has all been a huge blessing. But you've earned it. I remember when I first stepped out to the new store and I'm kind of like, who's running the place? And you're like, well, me. Is they're over there. I'm like, well, who's teaching you? You're like, well, me. Like
Yeah,
they had already taught you a lot, right? But
right,
you were kind of like, hey, they got this cash machine, cash cow Honda store over here, brand
right.
new. And Dylan, hold down the fort until we get you into a new, beautiful modern facility. And you've done
Yeah.
amazingly well. I mean, we don't need to go in exact numbers, but when you walk into a store and it's losing a bunch of money and
Hmm.
you get that turned around real quick, I don't care if that's from a $10,000 a month loss to a $10,000 a month profit. That's a quarter
Right.
million dollar swing just in that lit. And we know your experience was bigger, but yeah, tell us about that, win, because that wasn't necessarily maybe a financial win because again, you were going from a big loser store to a profitable store, but tell us about how that felt when you had that.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of funny because, you know, working over at Honda, like I was doing really well, right? And I was breaking all these records and there was a little bit of a hiatus in between, right? So me and my wife, we had our first kid and she wanted to be by her family, so we moved back to Portland, bought a house over there. I went back to our old store because I had a great relationship with the owner there and they made me a GSM over there. So I did that for, a year and a half, and Brad and Cooper were calling me every week. When he coming back? When he coming back? When he coming back? And I left the right way. I gave him a 90-day notice. They're great people, worked to the last day, right? And they kept calling me, come back, come back, come back. So eventually, I'm not anybody to talk down on anybody, but it wasn't working out for me where I was at on my end. And so I said, you know what, let's do it. So for a year and a half, I was flying back and forth. So
I
I came
remember,
back
yeah.
to the Honda store. I was doing 5 days a week at Honda. My wife and two kids at the time are in Portland by themselves. So I'd spend 2 days off in Oregon, 5 days in LA working. And part of those 2 days is traveling back and forth. So first off, I'll never do that again. Second off, that's just the caliber of people that Cooper and Brad are, It's so hard to find people in this business like that. And they're just such great leaders, that it's so hard to find someone so well-rounded, And I found that in them, and it was an easy decision for me to, okay, let's go back. So I moved my family back down here, was working at Honda for a while, doing my thing, plug and play right back like I never left. And then the Hyundai store opportunity came up, and they basically said, hey, we need someone we trust over there, and we need you to go over there and help us out. And, I wouldn't have done it if it weren't for them. Like, if that
Yeah.
store was some other group and they offered me some, like, I just wouldn't have done it. But, it's funny because I feel like I owe them a lot I feel like they changed my life. They turned my life around from the direction I was headed to where I am now. I feel like I owe a lot that to them. My wife always tells me, "Hey, don't forget to give yourself credit," right? And sometimes I have a hard time with that, give myself credit. And I did earn it and I did do my part. But I'm just so grateful for how they've changed my life and how they've, pointed me in a direction to just truly win from where I was. And so, if they asked me to go work at a Fiat store that, has two parking spaces, I'm going, right? And that's just kind of the blind loyalty I have for them because number one, they're always going to take care of me and I'm always going to take care of them. And whether they're looking or not, I'm going to work just as hard and I'm going to find a way to win. Um, so I went to the Hyundai store. I said, sure, I've been with Honda the entire time. And that was a big learning adjustment. Hyundai as a manufacturer does things very differently. Going from a 6-story high rise Honda store to a burger shack with a walk-in freezer and six parking spaces. It was a real hard adjustment at first, you know. And Cooper's been a big resource, figuring out, what a good GSM looks like and how to run and how to do that. And so I started off there, and then I just did my thing, I feel like they've taught me what to look for, the processes, how to be disciplined. And from there, it's just, compounding on your wins, right? And so, yeah, I was walking in and it was, a bloodbath. And obviously, we've done a great job to get to where we are now. We're not done yet. And I'm really excited for this new store. But I've learned more in the last 2 years working out of that burger shop than I have, all the other years combined. You're forced to get creative.
Oh yeah, and you're going to get to the new place, and even though the overhead and the expenses and all that is going to be way different, crazy, you're going to be like, this is a breeze
Yeah.
compared to the logistics of this other operation. Because
Yeah.
one, I can't believe a top tier manufacturer even allows it. I know they gotta have patience on the build and the building
Right.
permits and the costs of real estate in friggin' LA are just astronomical
Yeah.
anyway. But
Extremely. Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna be fun to see. What do and I know you told me this before and I forgot. I apologize. When is the grand opening?
June 1st is where I think it's gonna land, but beginning of June for sure.
Okay.
And it's gonna be amazing. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. There's been so many days, starting out learning there at the burger shop, as I call it, right? Where I feel like I was beating my head against the wall, thrown into a tornado. But like I said, you're forced to get creative, and then there's two different ways of looking at it. You can, complain about what you don't have and the situation you're in and whatever else, the clients, the market, the car, this, that, the building, whatever. There's so many things people complain about, right? Or you can focus on what you can control, control your controllables
Hmm.
and, find a way to win. But one thing that Brad always told me that really sticks in my head is, don't confuse efforts with results, right? And it sounds kind of harsh, but the reality is you can, seem busy, but you got to be result driven. And I feel like that's really, been my focus other than, stepping in.
Yeah, that's been kind of a I have a friend who's a one of the top orthopedic surgeons in Chicago. His name's Dan Ivankovich. You can Google him. I'm trying to get him on the show too. He likes to do stuff more in person, so it's a little bit more uh,
Yeah.
logistically tricky. But he's 6'11", played D1 basketball, D1 tennis. Just
6'11",
amazing,
that's
amazing,
crazy.
talented dude, and gives back to the community.
Cool.
But
That's awesome.
he has a Latin saying. So I was like, I gotta. It was really cool because he puts it in all his like taglines and
Yeah.
uh, signature. So I'm like, I gotta pick one out. So I'm like on Google doing a thing, and so I picked this out 2 years ago, which was acta non verba, which means action, not words.
Yeah.
So that's
I
kind of
like
goes
that.
along with what you're saying with the effort versus result. Like a lot of people talk. That's sort of the
Right.
birth of this YouTube channel. I have episodes in here, Dylan, from 4 years ago. I did a
Uh-huh.
12-part series that I never published because I was scared. I didn't have the right thumbnail. I didn't have the right this, that. So they're just sitting in my library to get pushed out there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I mean, I made a first step, I guess. I recorded them at least and figured out how to upload them and all that. But here you're going to be episode, 110 that now
That's
we've been
awesome.
trying to crank out this, in 2025, and we almost hit 100 in 2025, but we're really trying to get 100 legit episodes in 2026. But it's that don't quit, take the first step, just keep moving forward. And if you do fail, which I'm sure you've had a bunch of failures at the new store,
Oh, absolutely.
you just got to keep okay. Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow's another day. All that. So
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, it's a never-ending battle, and as soon as you think you're the best, you lost, right?
how
Um,
how is it because of your age? Not that you're young anymore, but you're still younger,
yeah.
hiring talent and like if an older like are you only hiring like kids like straight out of high school and college or how's the dynamic? How are you building a team there? Because I know you built
Yeah.
an incredible one, but
Yeah, good question. I mean, it really doesn't matter to me, right? Whether you're, old, young, guy, girl, doesn't matter, race, color, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. My biggest thing is, that intention, right? One of my favorite things in this business is training, right? I do training for the Honda store, I do training for a Hyundai store. Once a week, we get, all 80, finance managers, salespeople, and I'll hold a lot of training and that's like one of my favorite parts of, doing what I do. But my one of my favorite, training is like being intentional, right? So like, every dealership trains a step of the sale, every dealership, um, check mark boxes, right? Oh, did you make 60 calls today? Oh, did you follow up with your leads? Oh, how many voicemails did you get? How many appointments do you have, right? Okay, did you do the meet and greet? Okay, did you do the needs assessment? And like, it's a lot of checking boxes, and a lot of what I train is what you're trying to accomplish outside of those boxes, right? So during the meet and greet, you want to build a personal relationship, and if you didn't build a personal relationship, then you didn't really accomplish that step, right? The
yeah,
needs assessment, you ask all the questions, but did you find the problem? That's what I train a lot. You find the problem. No one comes in buy a car without a problem. So like that level of intention, right? You made 60 calls, but were they quality or were they quantity? Did you give them a reason to come in and did you build a sense of urgency? Or did you say, hey, when can you come in? Let me know, right? So that kind of intention. I try to look for that intention, whether it's, an old person, a young person. I try to look for that person who's willing to go that extra step, right? And I use that example in literally everything that we do, right? When I've always flip it on my team. I'm like, okay, you guys are all the used car managers, and a customer says, I want 19 grand for my trade. And then another customer says, I want 19 grand for my trade. Customer A says, "Oh, that's just what I want." And then customer B says, "Oh, I have other offers. This is what," you know what I mean? It holds more weight. So it's just going that extra little step. Which one are you going to take more seriously? And then I flip it on them and say, "Okay, you tell a customer, 'Oh, this is my best price.' Congratulations, they don't care, right? But if
yeah,
you tell them why it's their best price and yada yada yada, and you give them good reasons and third party market analytics, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I try to find people that are not willing to just check boxes, right? And are willing to take it a step further, take that level of ownership, have that intention, of coming to work and trying to accomplish something.
yeah.
So,
That
it's hard to find. Some people interview really well and then they're bad. And some people interview really bad and they're so good, So,
well, that's one thing that I've learned in my running of dealerships and all that is hire slow, fire fast.
amen. That's another saying Brad has. Yeah.
So because it just takes a while. Like everyone
Yeah.
wants to start work, but okay, hold on a second. Let me do a little background check. Let me like
Yeah.
break bread with you. Let's have a coffee or a beer or something. Let's
Yeah.
spend a little time together because we're going to be spending 40, 50, 60 hours a week together.
Yeah.
And if we
Right.
don't jibe, yeah, it's no good.
Yeah.
Um,
I try to figure that out real fast. Yeah, absolutely.
and back to your other point, Grant Cardone, I always try and take just nuggets from people, no matter what we think of them, or their image
Yeah.
or
Amen. I'm the
political
same way.
stance.
Whatever your thought or stance is, you can always get something from someone, whether it's a famous person or your sales porter, right?
Yep. Yep. He always said the way he described it and drew it up just really clicked in my brain. It's always stuck there. So price is only an issue in the absence of value,
Amen.
right? So you keep building that value, and then the pressure on the price just goes down by building
Right.
value. Building that price doesn't matter anymore, right? So that one thing, and then there's a couple things. This is not a Ken Potter commercial, but a couple things that he's taught me about, which really stick in my head. Which I even when I do phone training, I teach this to people in my greeting when I was running my dealership in Chicago, is I would always try and greet everybody. I'd stand at the tower and greet every person that walked in, and then I'd
Yeah.
kind of place them with who I thought would be best when I was
Yeah.
able. Obviously, I had meetings and calls and things.
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
you running a dealership, there's 60 people working there. I couldn't greet everybody, but
Right. Right.
I would always welcome them and then say, you know, Mr. Customer, what are you trying to accomplish, and how do you want the process to work? And they were so taken aback by that thing because no
Yeah.
one ever asked them that in the car bit. They're like, here's how we do it. Walk with me, follow me, all the little
Yeah. Yeah.
tricks and
Yeah.
scripts. But when you
Right.
say that, what are you trying to accomplish today? Oh, I'm here to buy a car. How would you like the process to work? What the? they're going to allow me. Now, we're not really going to allow that because we
Sure,
have our
sure.
processes, but
Yeah.
we're going to be empathetic and we're going to let them think that. And your dad has pounded that in my brain, and now I've kind of adopted it as my own. And I might not have his
Yeah.
exact words,
No,
but
that was pretty on par there.
yeah,
It's so
it's such
funny
a
because
simple.
there's so many things my dad told me when I was just getting in the business that, or when I started selling 25 cars a month and thought I was the best of the best. Oh no, I haven't figured out. And like looking back, I'm like, man, there was a point that clicked where like, man, all the things he told me were right, number one. And number two, I should start listening.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just a wealth of knowledge, and I always resisted it for so long, and then I've kind of figured out, man, he knows a lot more than I do. So,
Well, it's different when it's your dad,
right.
and you have a relationship with Brad and Cooper, like I have with your dad, which is I love them fiercely, but man, can they piss me off
Yeah,
easy
yeah.
because they know all their buttons to push, right? Probably like your
Amen.
brother and
Yeah.
your sister,
Yeah, that's true.
or my
Cooper's like
brother
a
and
brother to
sister.
me.
Yeah, and so that's why I would, take a bullet for your dad, and that's why I followed him to multiple different places to work, just because there's a trust factor that's just it's priceless, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I don't ever need to question that Dillon's going to take care of my business while I'm away, open the door on time, lock the door after, make sure it's, I don't, Brad could go to friggin' Fiji for a year, wouldn't matter. You're going to still do this, like you said. You're going to do the same type of business and try and win for him. And I think that's one of the things we learn as we grow in any business, but specifically in the car business. Surround ourselves with smarter, faster, harder working people, better talent. Because then I look like a freaking genius when I do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen.
If I hire little butt kissing, yes people, there no one's going to rise past me. We're all just going to be,
Right.
vanilla. So
Right. Yeah. No, it's crazy because it's so funny. I think about like, I care about Brad's money so much, like the money going in and out, the CIT, incentives, whatever it is, like that is so important to me that I be as close to perfect as possible, like more than my own bank account. Like I don't dissect my own bank account as much as that is important to me, but there's that care factor. There's that level of, they've always taken care of me. They've always looked after me. They've always pushed me to be better, and not in a bad way, right? So like there's I sold 36 cars one month and I go to Brad and I'm like, sold 36 cars. And it's not a lack of praise because he praised me. You did a great job, amazing job. But then he'd always end it with, what do you think there's something I could have done to sell a little bit more or get to 40, right? And some people might look at that as a bad thing, but realistically, that's just those little tiny thoughts are what I feel like pushes me to try to do better and better and better, right?
yeah,
Um, and so
let's touch on that for a second, just to give people some context, still. And so the average car salesperson in America, I think, sells what 8 to 10 units.
something like that. Yeah, 8 to
Some
12 maybe.
So 36 is a big job, right? There's 25 selling days in a month in most
Yep.
states, 30 days, right? So 36, that's a car a day, right? Which, just so everyone's aware who is not in the car business, selling a car in a day, you think it'd be as easy as just tossing a key. No, no, no. It's a 4, 5, 6 hour process between finding the right car, arranging the financing, appraising all that stuff, delivery, the technology. It takes a minute. So a car a day is
Right.
amazing. But to Dylan's point earlier, when you hit third, like for a 30 car person, as long as they weren't toxic, you wouldn't care if they showed up late. It didn't do all their like they're doing 30 cars a month for you. But in our space, there are some people that have figured out how to do 100 cars a month. I
It's
mean,
insane.
they're
Yeah.
they're the 1% of the 1%.
Yeah. Yeah. The 0.001%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. But they have figured that out, and that's where it's interesting that Brad, some of these people know, like they knew you could do more. You knew you
Right.
could do more, but you were like
Right.
36, hoo hoo hoo. All right,
Yeah.
well, there's you could do two a day, right?
Right, right. Yeah. And
Now
some
I don't know
people,
what
I feel
kind
like
of
most
life
people
you'd
see that
have,
as a
but
bad thing, but
yeah,
it's not a bad thing. It's just that little voice in your head that's like, it's not that you can't give yourself praise, right? You can have wins, you can celebrate your wins, and we've always done that. We've always celebrated our wins and praise each other for, doing a great job when we earn it, right? But there's always that what's next or what can we do more, or what looking back, it's so funny because if you ask any salesperson in this industry, I feel like for the most part, right? They don't sell a car or, you ask them, you say, what happened? And the first thing that comes out of a salesperson or really anybody in this business's mouth is they blame the customer. Oh, the customer wasn't ready. Oh, they have to talk to their wife. Oh, their credit didn't qualify. Oh, it's always the first thing that comes out of their mouth is they blame the customer, right? And it's funny to me because I try to take this approach that everything's my fault, right? And if you have that mindset of everything is your fault, if the customer had a 400 credit score, is that really my fault? No, it's not, right? But if I have that mindset, I can look back and say, oh, maybe I could have, helped them lock in a cosigner somewhere, right? That's just an idea, but I try to dissect it and say, maybe I could have built a better personal relationship. Maybe I could have built more value in the car. Maybe I could have made my walk around more personal. And you try to dissect it because what happens is if you blame it on the customer, you wash it off right then and there and you're done, right? Oh, it's customer's fault. They're not ready. And then you're done, right? But if you try to, even if it's not really your fault, and I know that, but if you make it your fault, you're forced to find areas you can get better. So I try to take that approach with everything. And I've been learning a lot more of the fixed side of things in the most recent months, and that's been super exciting. So I'm really excited to continue to learn more about that.
Yeah. What do you think? I know last time I was there because your dad had just bought or leased one, and Susan Owen had. So changing gears a smidge. So let's dive a little deeper into ICE engines versus
Yeah.
electric EVs.
Yeah.
What's your take on? Because I know Toyota was hybrid, Hyundai, Kia were a little bit of. So what's one? Are you still selling any EVs, or are you only
Yeah, great
leasing them?
question.
And what do you see the future of EVs specifically for Hyundai? Let's start there, and then maybe the industry.
Yeah, I would say obviously there was a time when, the last few years EVs have been building up and up, and it's been really hot. And, there was these really aggressive 13-month, 24-month, 36-month, short-term leasing options where you could get these massive rebates. And so payments were really attractive. $55,000 car, you put a couple grand down, you're paying 300 a month, like that's a no-brainer. So we were selling them like hotcakes. There's a point when out of our tiny little store, half of the new car sales were EV and we were running 75% lease penetration. And so it was a very hot wave for a long time. And then we saw a very big substantial drop in that when the EV tax credit went away. And obviously Hyundai made adjustments on their end to kind of make up for it with residuals and money factors and incentives and lease cash. And so they're still an aggressive for what they are, for what you get. They're still aggressive deals, aggressive payments. Are they as aggressive as they were? Probably not, but they're still very, very aggressive. In terms of production and like what we sold versus what we sell now, it's absolutely less. I would say the market as a whole, I think there was one point our region was doing, upwards of 40% of EVs, just a
Oh wow,
lot of Ionics 5s, a lot of Ionic 6s, Kona EVs. They came out with the Ionic 9. And like I said, those lease structures are so attractive. I would say now we're closer to probably about 25%, 20%. So I feel the shift going back a little bit more towards ICE and hybrid. And obviously a bigger boost in hybrid because you kind of can get a little bit of
yeah.
both of those worlds there, but definitely shifting more towards ICE and hybrid as of late.
So yeah, I mean, because we're seeing the same thing, and I my fear I'm a hybrid guy, if anything, right? Because I just think the range and the way I travel and stuff. I think if I lived, like by you guys, and my
Yeah,
commute was like Santa Monica to Venice to downtown Hyundai,
right,
no brainer, right? You plug in every night, you get your range, your you know, your gasoline bill is zero because
right.
there's weeks my gasoline bill is $100 a week
Yeah, that's a
on
lot.
top of whatever payment
Yeah,
and insurance. So that to
Sure.
me makes sense. But it's interesting because with the obviously the change in uh, presidents and philosophies and drilling for oil and all that stuff has affected a lot of this stuff. But we're seeing a big drop off at my day job in EVs and even the values on EVs, like like that's going to be a big deal because as you're taking these cars back in trade, like, okay, the car is great, looks great, low mileage, but what's the battery life left on these bad
Yeah.
boys?
Yeah, well,
Because
I noticed they were really aggressive because the market was so hot. They were really aggressive on the residuals. So more often than not, cars coming back off lease, like I'm not buying them
yeah,
because the payout versus what the market says what they're worth is a large delta.
yeah,
That's why, when it comes to EVs, I always suggest a lease, right? You're under warranty the whole time, little to no maintenance. But for drivers like yourself, driving a lot or range,
yeah,
doesn't work for you, then yeah, hybrid's a great solution to that. But yeah, I had an EV for 13 months. Obviously, I have the luxury of charging at work, so that wasn't a big problem. But I can
yeah,
see how there's other parts to it.
yeah, yeah. No, they're. I mean, when I'm out by you guys, it's just every other freaking car is
It
an
is.
EV. I mean, just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, our
unbelievable.
market, especially in terms of Hyundai, the last, before the tax credit went away, they're just everywhere.
Yeah,
All the deals you're working were Ionic 5, Ionic 6, Kona
yeah.
EV, lease, lease, lease.
Well, especially like you said, that those payments that I was seeing on those things, and I know you gave friends and family discounts to certain people, but
Yeah, of
even at
course.
regular price, I'm like, that's less than my gasoline bill,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
getting a brand new car under warranty. What the? I'd keep one of those off to the side as an
Oh,
extra
yeah.
car.
It was like the price, a monthly payment of a Honda Civic.
Yeah,
And you get a $50,000 car loaded to
yeah,
the brim with all the features and, you know,
yeah.
panoramic moonroof.
Wow. Well, yeah, I think it's interesting times in our biz, and you're with a great brand, so that's a blessing. You're in like I
Yeah,
said, the number two market. You're getting a new store, so I'm excited for you. Dylan, part of what we do on this channel, and again, for those of you who are new, thank you. Like, subscribe, share, whatever all that jingle, is. But what we do kind of just to keep us in our car route thing is we talk about first car, favorite car, dream car. And
got
then the
it.
last little nugget, I'll rapid fire those in a second. And the last little nugget is what would 30-year-old wise father of three Dylan tell 16-year-old Dylan? And I think we're going to hear some interesting things. So we'll end with that, but let's rapid fire on first car. What was your first car you ever had?
First car, Toyota Yaris, roll up windows.
Hmm,
Yeah, yeah, my brother gave it to me actually.
tin can.
Yeah, yeah, that was a fun little car. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I was just happy to drive.
Oh yeah,
But your buddy
yeah,
leaves the window down in the back right, and then you're like driving trying to reach the window. Ah,
yep.
so
No, those
funny.
things ran though. They were little
They did.
bulletproof little things.
Yeah,
What so far? And well, I'll kind of let you because you work at a dealership, so you've had the luxury of driving a million different cars. But
right.
you can mix cars you've owned and demos together. What's been your favorite car that you've driven so far?
Like personally owned or
Personally owned or demo, doesn't matter.
good question. So, you know what? I'm like I love hunting and fishing. That's like, two of my big passions, hunting, fishing, and golfing. Those are like my three things outside of my kids. So I love a good lifted diesel truck.
Ooh.
So I'd say
You still
that.
have your truck?
Nope, I got rid of it.
Uh,
Yeah, so that or I had a really fun time with a Corvette. So I had a Corvette for a year and that was a lot of fun. So, those are kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum, but
different purposes. I kind of
yeah,
treat cars like gym shoes, right? Those are
right.
hiking, those are golf shoes, those are
Exactly.
running like
Exactly.
that. My
Yeah,
wife
so
teases me.
either one of those big trucks or the Corvette was a lot of fun. Both like you said, different reasons.
All right, so now dream car. Kids are grown, price is no issue. What's the dream ride?
Man, dream car, price is no issue. I'm gonna have to say P1 McLaren. Yeah, obviously the third part has to be true. Price no issue.
Yeah, yeah. We haven't had a McLaren yet. We've had a bunch of Ferraris, bunch of Porsches.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
488 Spider's up there, but I just love the way that car looks. But P1 McLaren, yeah, when I was a little kid, I saw one, and that was just like wow,
there you
so
go.
mind-blowing to me. It's kind of like sports. You see your first player watching a game, and now that's your team, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So it's kind of like that.
for sure. All right, so now we got these. These are what we call our wow question, words of wisdom. And you shared a little bit about your journey and then going down the wrong path and getting on the right path with some good people around you. What
Yeah.
would you tell now? You just turned 30, so now you're wiser than all of us. What would you tell 16, 17, 18-year-old Dillon Potter about that you wish you knew then that you know now?
It's a really good question. Um, I would say first and foremost, it would probably be surround yourself with people that you want to be like. I think that was a big thing, and it's kind of hard to figure that out when you're young because you kind of want to be like whoever you're around, right? Um, and man, it's just that's a real hard question. I feel like I could talk an hour on that, but um I would say really try to find a good mentor that, teaches you principles in life. And one of the biggest, most rewarding things for me is obviously my wife and children. I'd say tell myself how important it is to find the right partner, right? That pushes you. And
Yeah,
if you want to have kids, right? Because that alone is the biggest blessing in my life. There, I could be an owner of a top store in the nation, in the entire world, and nothing will ever come close to the joy that my kids bring me.
yeah,
And man, there's so many things I could say, but I would say for the most part, it would be, yeah, surround yourself and be disciplined, right?
yeah,
I think discipline is what's really separated me from one path to the next, but I really needed the people I was around to point me the way.
yeah,
Um, so I think the people that you surround yourself with, I think the people that you look up to, make sure you really want to be like them. What does their life look like, and what are they accomplishing, or what are they doing, or what is their true character, and what are their morals, and make sure you choose very wisely because you can waste a lot of time hanging around the wrong people.
yeah. No, your dad. Because I remember some of the stories of your choices. He didn't get into detail, but he
Yeah,
was he was worried about you, right? So as
right.
any parent should, and he is so proud of you now, which I know he tells you, so it's not a shock to anybody. It's not Jerry Springer show here,
Yeah.
but he is so proud. And when he calls me, and Dillon broke this record, and Dillon had this paycheck, and Dillon, it's just like I'm like, can I get it? But which I would be too, right? And I am proud of you. But when you come from that, like you said, that bad road you were potentially going down, it's
hmm
a bigger win than,
It
oh, he was
is.
a perfect child, he did everything right, he was straight A students,
Yeah.
he graduated top of this. Like that's not a big jump to like, oh, Dillon's going to be successful. So that the
Yeah.
the change in your trajectory has just been really fun to watch and see your dad be proud, and it's been cool. And
Yeah, it's so funny. I just think it's possible for anybody.
yeah,
I didn't think, if I looking back when I was 16, I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think any of this was possible. You
yeah,
think of just that small, little mindset that you're in. But, if I can do it, and there's people that have far worse upbringings and stories. I didn't have a bad upbringing. I just made a lot of wrong choices. But there's people that have been in a lot more awful, terrible situations that are far more successful than I am. So there's so many examples out there that it's possible for everybody, no matter what industry you're in, what your upbringing, where you're from, what you do, right? Um, it's
well, I would,
possible.
yeah, I agree. And I would tell you, if you're looking to get into the car business, um, I know LA is expensive, but these guys, Dillon and the Mug family, got a Honda store. They got a Hyundai store. The Hyundai store is going to need a bunch more people very soon. If you want some mentors, that's the thing that your dad is always, another thing he's pounded in my head, which he loves about the car business is that You could come out of jail. You could come out of
Yeah.
the military. You could
Yep.
come off a boat and not barely speak a lick of English.
Yeah.
You can be successful in the car business, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you a quick little tidbit here. My current sales manager that works for me came to me when he was 18. He spoke broken English, and this kid had a hard life growing up, and moved to this country, and like I said, had a big language barrier. Everything stacked against him. And he is just such a hustler and has such a strong work ethic. And that's all this business cares about. And he immediately sold 30 cars a month. He was a floor manager for me, and he was a sales manager for me at 21 years old. And he still works for me now.
What country do you come from?
El Salvador.
So that's rough neighborhood, man.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's no joke. And it's crazy because that's why it doesn't matter to me how old, how young you are. This
Yeah,
kid is such a good example, and I use this example all the time when I'm doing trainings. Like, just like, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
He's not smarter than you. I'm not smarter than anybody else. I'm not, it's just how much are you willing to eat and how much are you willing to, work hard? And like, if I told him to run through a window, he's gonna run through a window,
yeah.
and that's how I hope Brad and Cooper think about me.
Yeah. Well, we're not it's not like we're slinging concrete or breaking rocks in the car business. So I always giggle because I was in the trades growing up before the car business. I always laugh when we say, "Oh, I worked so hard today." Yeah, it's stressful. There's a lot of pressure and there's long
Yeah.
hours for sure. It's retail like anything, right? We joke about our half days are only noon to midnight or 9 to
Yeah,
9.
yeah.
Um,
You're not
but
wrong.
we're not breaking our bodies
We're
necessarily.
not. Yeah.
But it's interesting because anyone can do it,
Hmm.
put forth the effort, and is another one of your, Joe Haberstow, who and your dad
Yep.
and me always joke is still people still buy car from people. So if you
Right.
are good with people and you just make them feel again listened to, appreciated, understood, everyone wants just again context for listeners. 50% of the people who walk in a car dealership are buying a car. It's
Right.
50%. Probably higher
Right.
in some brands because
Yeah.
they're loyal and they're buying their fourth Honda Civic, right? So they're
Right.
probably
Right. Right.
75%.
Right.
So you got a 50-50 shot walking in the door. Shake their hand, greet them nicely. Can I
Right.
get you a cup of water? Hey, here's my boss. I'd like you to meet Dillon. He's a super guy. He's going to help us out. Whatever it is to
Right.
make them feel comfortable. And you just now have put that guard down, and now your odds went from 50% maybe to 75%. That's pretty good
100%.
odds.
It's the biggest difference, honestly.
Yeah.
It's the biggest difference. Whether you're dealing with a upset customer or whether you're, you know, meeting a brand new customer, the difference is the person. That's really what it is. I try to keep my guys as simple as possible. Learn the process and, get experience, but get them to like you, get them to like the car, bring them inside, right?
And well, I loved what you said earlier, Dylan. Then we can kind of end on that because I know you probably want to get some sleep with the kids out of the house. Um, is is at least so. Let's say it is 50%. So you close one of two customers who come to the dealership. Learn from the one. Don't blame them, like you said. Don't
Exactly.
don't put that.
Yeah.
Learn from them. What could I have done differently? Did I offer
Right.
them a glass of water? Was I respectful to the wife or the girl? Who did I
Right.
speak to? Any of
Right.
those things, because you will learn from them. And I think this is where a lot of times our folks fail is, oh, they're never buying or what. Call them up and say, what could I have done? Learn from them again.
Yeah.
Could I have done differently? I feel terrible. I failed you. You guys spent a lot of time here, whatever. What could I have done differently? Well, you know what? We just wanted $500 more for our trade. Boom, done.
You're
Come
right.
on.
Right.
No, our
Yeah.
credit's not bad. Or, my brother just gave me an extra $2,000 down, but we were embarrassed to say it. Whatever the reason is, learn from
Right.
it. You may end up, because again, the real number on this context for those who aren't in the business, anyone who is brave enough to set foot in a car dealership's parking lot, think that stat is, Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong on this, if you know, they're buying a car, the vast majority are buying a car within, I think it's 72 hours.
Got it.
So
Yeah,
if
I know.
they are
I
brave
know
enough
it's
to come in,
right.
so if they don't buy in that 50-50 split with you, they're going somewhere else to buy, most likely.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And the number went down so low. I think it's 1.1 right now, but they visit 1.1 dealerships before they buy. That means more people are buying because the age of the internet, right? People
Yeah.
are finding out who they want to work with and stuff very quickly. That's why, on the phone, like when we talk about accomplishing something or working with intention, whether it's on the phone or in person, my first goal is like has to be, did you build a relationship? Because if you do that, like that's what sets you apart. I've had so many people, it's not about pricing more. Hey, you're a little bit more expensive, but I really liked working with you, so I'm gonna come buy from you. Right? It always comes down to the people.
Well, that's my last little nugget for you, which is I always play that Kevin Bacon game when I'm talking to anyone on the phone. Is that what is it? 7 steps from Kevin Bacon or whatever the deal is.
I haven't heard of
Um,
that.
basically, it's one in if you go back 7 people, somebody's going to know of Kevin Bacon. So some kind of movie, like
Okay.
it's an odds thing, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
whenever I'm talking to someone, oh, where are you from, Dylan? Oh, I'm from Temecula. Oh, my cousin lives in Murrieta, right?
Right, right.
Instant you make a connection, whether it's school or job or vocation
Yeah,
or oh, you're the oldest kid, whatever that is,
yeah,
which is irrelevant to what I'm trying to sell or buy. There's a
right.
connection,
Absolutely.
right?
No, I 100% agree. That's
And
like,
if you can do that over the phone and then get them in, and then they're just greeted like you said with a smile and a friendly face, even if it's broken English or male, female, age, young, old, doesn't matter. And I love what you said at the beginning of this conversation is the experience.
right,
Make it a good experience. People still they can go buy anywhere. It's the second largest purchase in their life, right?
right, right.
They can go buy anywhere. There's 16,000 something franchise dealerships. There's probably 20 Hyundai stores within the, greater metro LA
There
market.
is. Yeah,
Why
ton
are
of
they going
them.
to buy from this freaking Philly cheesesteak stand?
Exactly. You know what?
Where
It's
there's
so
no
funny.
parking and
Yeah,
yeah, because of Dylan and because of the culture that you've built. So good job,
yeah.
buddy.
Thank
Good
you. I
job.
really appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you
Looking
very
forward
much.
to it. We're definitely going to do a repeat once you get uh, maybe towards the end of the summer after you get a couple months under your belt of the big mothership.
There we go.
I hope you invite me to the grand opening because I'd
You
love
will
to
definitely be invited. Absolutely.
check it out and celebrate. So, all
Yeah, it'll be really cool.
right, brother, have a great night.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Yep. Thanks everybody for joining. Again, Dillon Potter, LA Hyundai. If you're looking for a gig, you're looking for a deal, check what's your website?